Hello and welcome to a video with me, Raindale. Today we're taking a detailed look at evasion and how to build it in War Division. So we'll be going over why you should build evasion, how it works mechanically in the game, and then what units are best for that, what buffs you need to have, and then what equipment, vision cards, and whatnot you need to set for your evasion team to work. But first, let's just show you a little bit of how it performs in game if you have it. So I'll just show one battle and then move on to the rest of the video. So here we're running 3 units with a very good evasion, but mainly Xiza and Oldoa have a pretty decent evasion. Nivlu has a lot less, but normally what we should be seeing is the enemy team being unable or having a very high difficulty to hit us at all. And even if they're running some pieces of equipment that have accuracy on them, none of those units have guaranteed hit abilities, so it's a roll of the dice if they even want to try to hit us. So here we're moving in, we're starting to do a little bit of damage. Barrier Break Arrow, if you didn't know, destroys Laswell's Mirage, then deals damage to him. So it's a pretty mean ability for him. So here we go, they missed. Alright, one attack that does nothing. Then Gilgamesh not even trying to hit us because he has no chance. So he's not trying. And that's one of the things. At 120, Gilgamesh has a little bit less accuracy problems, but he's still not the most accurate of units. Okay, seems like that's not the best for an evasion showcase, because we just killed the enemy team without getting attacked much. Okay, so here we have 3 enemy members. We're gonna go into a fight just to see what evasion looks like, because we did one first battle in which we only got attacked once. So let's try to showcase something a little bit more here. That's kind of the bloopers of running a video. You don't always choose how the battles go beforehand. And I could just run a couple fights and then shoutcast them at a delay, but I feel like it's more natural and more fun when I'm commenting while it's happening live. So here we go, throw out a couple buffs. Xiza does not have evasion buffs, so she's actually much less evady than Oldoa right now. But even then, with her level 120, the extra luck she gets from that, I'm not afraid of her getting hit too much. So here we go, Dwayne takes a hit. They are grouping up, we have our buffs up, and we should be good to see them attack us a couple times, which is what we want and what didn't happen in the other match. So let's go. Alright, they're casting their buffs, it's nice, yada yada yada. Let's see, Stun Blade misses Oldoa. There we go. Then Titus buffs, because he's not attacking for some reason. Okay, well, we'll just kill Dwayne, or LC, and then move on with our lives. Now Dwayne misses, no damage. So we're still chilling, removing the haste, whatever. Is Titus gonna get a turn? Looks like he isn't. Well, at least we got to see a couple dodges this time. Alright, so why would you run evasion? Well, as we've seen in those matches, even though they were pretty one-sided, evasion is very strong against many units. It's basically invincibility if you're fighting an enemy team that doesn't have much chance to hit you. Because they'll attack you with, what, 10%, 20% hit chance? So unless you're unlucky, you can get out of most fights without taking any damage. But when you're running an evasion team, you have to commit very hard on evasion resources because you don't want to bet on a 50% dodge chance. You want to go all the way to 90, even 100%, so that you're sure your strategy will actually work. So that means you will sacrifice some offensive vision cards, you'll sacrifice some gear that could provide you with additional defense, and you need to make sure that you have evasion buffs that are cast by some of your team members, so you're also limited in your unit choice. However, if you're running it with a full setup against a team that's not prepared to fight it, they don't stand a single chance. It's going to be a one-sided massacre, like we've seen in those other matches. But you have to always be wary of units with guaranteed hits, because again, when you're running evasion, you're sacrificing a lot of offensive and defensive power to favor your evasion as much as you can. So if enemies can negate that by having guaranteed hit abilities, well, you're basically fighting them with a huge disadvantage because your only strong point is countered. So how does evasion works? Well, when you're getting attacked in War of the Vision and it misses, so you evade the attack, well, you negate the damage the attack would do. You also negate any status effects that would come with the attack, so if it would stun you or stop you or whatever, that cannot affect you. The other effects, though, still apply. So if you would have a defense down effect or an evasion down effect or any kind of other other effect that's tied to the attack, that will apply. So you don't get completely unscathed, but still, taking no damage is really the big takeaway here. And then some fun facts about evasion. Well, hit chance, and somehow I wrote hit change. I might change that. Now, let's go over a couple facts that you need to know if you're going to be running evasion. First, hit chance is hit minus evasion. Pretty straightforward. Then, luck is the major factor in a unit's stats that is going to influence evasion. And roughly 2 points of luck is equivalent to 1 evasion, but also 1 accuracy, so units with high luck are very accurate and have a high dodge chance. Agility has a slight impact on evasion, but honestly, agility is so low compared to all the other stats in the game that I would not look at that too much when building evasion teams. It's not very important in my opinion. Being attacked from the side gives the attacker plus 15 hit, and then being attacked from the back gives the attacker plus 30 hit, so you need to be wary of positioning when playing evasion teams. And then some others that I didn't put on screen are when a character is stunned, they can't dodge. When a character is asleep, they also can't dodge. And when a character is casting, they can't dodge. So that's something to keep in mind. If you want to run mages in evasion setups, great, but be aware that whenever you're in process of casting a spell, your evasion is reduced to 0. That's not something every player knows. So yeah, now let's talk about units. When you play evasion, like I was saying previously, you want to go all in. You want units that have innate evasion or very high luck. You want the best gear, the best vision cards, and etc. Because that will be the difference between going in the fight with a 50% chance to dodge the enemy's attack and then a reliable chance to dodge. The unit with the highest evasion before any modifications in the future is going to be 2B when she's released. But for now, she doesn't exist, so we don't have to talk about that. Right now, the top units are Rob with his 120 and O with his 120. But Vinera, Tidus, Runestern, and all the ones that you see on screen are characters that are very evady. That doesn't mean that you can't run some characters that are not on screen right now in an evasion setup with success. I've done so in the past and it can work well, but those are the ones that easily and naturally make use of evasion builds. And then it's very important, in my opinion, when you're running an evasion team, to have buffs in your team that give evasion up to all your characters. Because these buffs are as huge or even more important than the evasion you'll gain from vision cards in your gear. It's a game changer. Again, it's the difference between having, say, if you're counting all the good gear, 70% chance to dodge the enemy attack and 95 sometimes. It all varies in every fight, but really the buffs are critical. And the best ways, I find, to get an AoE buff on all of your team is to run a samurai, because they all have access to illusion, which gives plus 25 evasion all around the unit. Another option, which not all accounts have, but is still a very good one, is using Nivlu's TMR if you have it. If it's maxed, you can give plus 30 evasion in an even wider AoE. The thing is, though, this is only equipable on ranged units, so you have to use very specific units to give this buff to the rest of your team. Otherwise, there are quite a few units that have evasion buffs that are single target. Thieves have Shadow Cast, which gives a huge plus 42 for 3 turns. Ninjas and Rangers have a 1-turn self-evasion buffs, and then there's probably some others that I'm forgetting. But I like putting Thief in the AoE quote-unquote buffs because they have access to Steel Vision, which reduces an enemy's accuracy. So instead of boosting allies' evasion, you're reducing a specific enemy's hit chance, which leads to the same thing. Also, the blind status effect, if you can apply it on enemies, significantly reduces their hit chance. So it's another way to get some advantage. And if you're using samurais, well, they have access in some cases to the Night Veil attack, so they can boost your team's evasion with illusion and then blind the enemy team with Night Veil, and then you're set, nobody can hit you. So yeah, if you're running an evasion setup, I highly recommend that you have some way of boosting your evasion even more through buffs, and I would say it's a must, in my opinion. Then, pieces of equipment. You really need to have one dedicated equipment piece for evasion. And I say one because equipment stacking is a thing, and you get diminishing returns for your second and third piece of equipment. For evasion, those diminishing returns are very important. I think the second piece only gives you 20% of the evasion that it would otherwise give you, and then the third piece of evasion gear doesn't give you any. So you really don't have a reason to run more than one. But that one you run should be as strong as possible. So if your unit can use a Sage Hat, so if they can wear hats, you want a +5 Sage Hat. That's the best thing we currently have in the game. If you were lucky enough to run a ribbon, it's going to be best in slot for any units that cannot wear Sage Hat. But if you don't have it because it was a time-limited event and you skipped it or you weren't playing at that time, well, for units that cannot wear Sage Hat, they're usually units that wear armor, and you should be putting the Mithril armor on those units for a +18 evasion. It's not nearly as high as what a Sage Hat gives, but it's the next best thing. In the future, we'll eventually have another raid where we get a clothing piece that gives 39, which is so much more than what we currently have, but at the current time, it's not available. And then in the lower section, I put other pieces that you can possibly use. The circlet is really nice at 22, but it's mid-tier because it's a hat, same as Sage Hat, so why not go for the better option, aside from the fact that it's harder to build. The other two are accessories, so they're your best option for the other guys if you can't use one of the top tier items. So yeah, you need one of these on your guys. And for all of these pieces of equipment on top, like the Sage Hat, the ribbon, and then the Santa suit, I guess, when it's going to come out, you need them to be at +5 because they give evasion with every plus. But the other pieces, the Mithril Armor, the Elf Cloak, and then Elda's TMR, they don't get evasion from their pluses, so you could run a +0 and have the same amount of evasion that you would get from a stronger piece. Now, let's talk about vision cards. Again, you ideally want the top tier, right? Evasion is not a build that's very new player friendly because every little percentage of evasion that you lose by not running the top tier gear can mean your demise in a fight. But the top tier vision cards are Shiva because it gives 20 evasion to everybody, and then the Secrets of the Heart card for 35% luck. That's really the best way to ramp up evasion. I know some people love running agility up cards. I don't recommend that because the base agility stat is very low in the game, right? The most I see in very agility heavy builds is 100, and the best card that gives agility up gives 15%. So you're gonna get 15 more agility, and agility gives less evasion than luck would, and even 15 luck would give you 7 evasion. So it's not a very high amount that you're getting in terms of evasion by running an agility card. You don't need it at all. You need a luck up card and an evasion up card, and then your third card you can use for defense or offense depending what you want. But some interesting thing, if you're running a Earth-specific evasion team, you can run Titan because it gives evasion to Earth units. And then the new Flash of Insight card that just came out gives evasion for light units. I haven't put it on screen, but in the future, with the Nier Automata collaboration, there will be a new vision card that gives 35% luck for wind units specifically. So if you want to run 2B in a wind evasion team, well, that's going to be your best in slot. There are MR options that give evasion as well, but they're significantly worse than the UR options. So you can see Deceptive Vows, which gives 10 evasion, and then Birth of a New Life, which gives 21%. But those numbers are pretty important, so I'm not recommending evasion really if you're a newer player, unless you invest very, very heavily into that and you get all the best stuff. Because you won't get a very good performance out of it, I think, if you're not investing heavily. You can win quite a few matches if you're lucky, but luck becomes a much bigger factor. And I mean the player's luck, not the characters, when you don't have everything you would need for that setup. Now, I didn't make a specific slide on Espers because there isn't much to say about that. A lot of Espers have 2 Esper nodes that give a total of +7 evasion. If you're going for an evasion build, grab those. But there's one Esper that has dedicated evasion, and that's Tetrasulfid, who can give all the way up to +15 evasion, so that's a lot more than you would get otherwise. So I highly recommend you build Tetrasulfid's resonance with your evasion units so that you can boost one character's survivability much more. Now, not a lot of evasion units are ranged attackers, so you will again be giving up some of your offense if you do that. But staying alive generally means you end up doing more damage overall. Now, what are threats to evasion teams? Well, in general, you want to avoid teams with equipment that has accuracy, so if you see an enemy with an Alexandrite ring, avoid them. If you see a Lysalia sword, avoid it, right? Try to know which equipment piece give accuracy and avoid those enemies, and also enemies with vision cards that grant some accuracy. I know not many people have the Blades of Grass vision cards. You have to be playing since the one of the early collaborations to have that, but it's a card that gives a lot of accuracy. And then Aigaion and Typhon give accuracy as well. But also somebody running Exorcist, it gives the character with Exorcist, if he's a greatsword user, an attack that decreases your evasion by 60, which is crazy. It basically nullifies all your evasion gear. So be wary of those vision cards, and also just enemies which in general have master abilities that give them accuracy or high accuracy in general. And the queen of accuracy without guaranteed abilities is Leerte, who I put in the middle there. If you fight Leerte as an evasion guy, she's probably going to hit you with every single one of her attacks, because that's the only thing she's the best at, but she's the best at having high accuracy. And then be wary of any character with guaranteed hit abilities. Now, I didn't put all of them on screen, but Yuna, very notable guaranteed hit unit right now. Garvel, Sakura with the Kotodama job. Killphase, one of them. Then Rangers with Sharpshoot. White Mages with Holy, again. And Oron is one of the recent ones that has guaranteed hit. So try to, well, if you're going to be running evasion in general, you need very high amount of game knowledge. You need to know which characters to avoid, which pieces of equipment, and which vision cards to avoid. And if you're targeting an enemy that has none of that, you're going to destroy them. If you have the proper gear. So that's basically how it goes. It's extremely strong in the right matchup, and it's extremely weak in other matchups. And finally, before closing out, I just want to show you quickly the team that I was running early in the video, if you were wondering. So we have characters with high evasions, not the best, but they're in the high tier for evasion. We're running a +5 stages hat on Xiza for evasion, Tetrasulfid Esper for evasion, Oldoa has Ribbon, and then we have the evasion nodes on Auden. And then Nivlu has a bit less evasion. She has Hermes shoes, but they're not maxed out. But she's there to stay in the back, and she's mainly there because I wanted someone to provide with an AoE evasion buff. So that's what she's giving with her TMR. and she has Shiva again for evasion. So everyone contributes to surviving, and I'm not afraid of Nivlu getting hit because she's not critical to our victory, and she's gonna be way behind the other guys anyways. So with that said, I don't want to keep it too long. Showed you a little example of how it goes, and then what's the best ways to build it. If you guys have questions about it, please don't hesitate to ask. Or if you want me to really show an entire video of how to run evasion and then in-game seeing it in action, I can do that as well. Just let me know. Thank you so much for watching and for your time. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It will make it more likely that you see my content in the future. So that's it. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.